Fall 7 times and up 8. It's a Japanese proverb. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. If you're going through hell, keep going. Winston Churchill. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. Obviously, famous quote from Nietzsche. Why are the best quotes about resilience? Why is that? There are some really good ones. They're inspiring. We look up to people who accomplish incredible things. Should you be someone who went through something extraordinary, if you went and climbed Mount Everest or you ran 100 miles or whatever, people are interested in hearing about how you did that. So what is it about personal resilience? We respect it, we admire it, and we all go through it. We all get it because life is a real mofo. It is hard. Life is challenging, constantly coming up against new challenges and obstacles and getting knocked down. And can we get back up? Can we dust ourselves off? Can we recover? Can we do the things that we need to do to keep moving forward? I don't know. I think that we all want that. I was curious. I was thinking about it recently. I thought, what are we universally excited about or happy? What makes makes me happy regardless of the human being? When I hear about somebody accomplishing something, what is it that really makes me happy? A universal thing, universally agreed upon thing. And I thought, well, when somebody has a baby, pretty happy about that usually. When somebody loses a ton of weight, I'm like, wow, how'd you do it? Tell us all about it. Interested in learning about that. But I think that somebody brought it up to me when somebody beats a sickness, when somebody beats cancer or whatever it is, that is without question universally agreed upon thing. This is a wonderful thing that you did, you were able to overcome. As we all know how awful it is. I don't have to have cancer myself to witness and appreciate what a horrible thing it is. And it's true of all diseases and sicknesses. Got a cold, it's terrible. All you want is to feel better. So that is a universal human thing is we recognize suffering, we recognize just how terrible it is. So we celebrate and are happy when we observe somebody else go through it, when we go through it ourselves. Take it one step further, we respect people who are caregivers. I have the utmost respect for people who make sacrifices to care for others. Parents, single parents. Oh my goodness. All the respect in the world for people who have done that. First responders, firefighters, police officers, members of our armed forces, those who willingly put themselves in harm's way. Instead of avoiding chaos, they run toward it. It's amazing. And as much as you and I perhaps try and avoid chaos in our lives, it finds us. So, whether your vocation demands that you move towards the sound of chaos or you're trying to avoid it altogether, it's going to find its way to our doorstep. Chaos, adversity, bad things. It's a bummer. I I don't know that I wish that it wouldn't happen. I was going to say I wish it wouldn't happen, but without the good, you cannot have the bad, and so the story goes. Well, another thing that I know for sure is that I want control. I want as much control of my life as I can have. I want agency. I want to feel like I, through my own actions, can influence some of the circumstances of my life, knowing full well that I have very little control over the things that happen to me, but I have absolute control of how I think, feel, and respond to those circumstances of my life. But it doesn't happen on its own. I can desire that. And I don't know that everybody wants it. I don't know that everybody wants personal agency. I don't know that everybody wants to have as much control as they can because that suggests that you're accepting responsibility for certain things. That suggests that you are seeking out and wanting to take responsibility for certain things in your life. And as I'm talking, it's becoming obvious that there are certainly a good number of people who want the opposite of that. They're interested in arguing for their limitations, in being victims and holding on to the whatever the worst thing that ever happened to them, letting that define them and using it as a rationale for why it is that they do not have the things that they want. And sometimes that's a very real thing. Sometimes that's a very real thing. Circumstances of one's life prevent you from doing the things that I've been talking about. But for a lot of us, it's just a matter of, no, I'm not interested. I would rather have somebody do that on my behalf. I would rather hand that responsibility over to somebody else because it's a weight that is too heavy for me to carry. That's not me, and I assume that it's not you as well. I want control, I want agency. And fundamentally, what that means is I want to be a good self-manager. And one step further, I want to know and I want to understand what personal resilience means and how to put it to work in my life. And it's not obvious, and it's also not an automatic thing. It's not hardwired into us to be good self-managers, to be able to recognize what it takes to employ personal resilience in our lives and then to consistently do it. So that's what I wanted to talk about is what are some good steps to doing this. I work and have worked my entire career in a very entrepreneurial environment. So client building. And when I started, I didn't know anything about it. And when a lot of people come into an entrepreneurial endeavor, they lack the skills, particularly if they're coming to it from a traditional corporate environment, working in 9 to 5, where there's obligations and expectations on when you're going to arrive at a certain place, what you're going to do while you're there, how long you're going to be there, and that kind of stuff. There's meetings that you need to show up to. All of a sudden, when you become an entrepreneur, now there's not that structure. We don't have that structure. And, you think about everybody's favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption. In Red, the Morgan Freeman character, he got parole finally. And he'd been in the prison for the majority of his life. And he had become what they referred to as institutionalized. And so all of a sudden, I think one of the lines is he had to ask permission to go to the bathroom. And he gets out and he goes to work at the grocery store and he's constantly asking his manager, who's a young guy, if he can go to the bathroom. And the guy finally said, "Hey, you need to go to the bathroom. Just go to the bathroom." But it was in a new environment that he wasn't thriving in. And he was very much thriving in the structured environment. So that one's kind of a bummer because he ends up, obviously, he didn't end up back in prison. He made the decision I'm just remembering back to the movie now. He's remembering back. It was Brooks who didn't make it. The other character who was running the library. Anyway, it's true across so many different parts of our lives, right? Whether we are in an environment where we're moving from being a child to young adulthood to a student, a high school student who goes off to college, very similar. We need to become self-managers. I graduate from college, I become an adult, a young adult. I need to learn self-management skills. So, regardless of what it is that you are doing, there are definitive skills that we need to learn if we are to be as successful as we are going to be as people living on Earth, realizing that there is so much chaos and so much pain and suffering and so many bad things that happen, we need to learn how to deal with these things. And that's what self-management, that's what personal resilience is, and that is what it is all about. So it's all about strengthening our ability to bounce back, to adapt. So how do we do that? And I think it's a really interesting thing, that it's a muscle like any other. So there's a couple of things. Number one, we need to learn the skills that it takes to do it, and then we have to actually do it. So it's the idea of literacy versus wellness. Literacy is, yes, I understand how to do it. Wellness is I'm actually putting it into practice and I'm really doing it. So how do we actually do this? So number one is I think you need to have a positive mindset, which is kind of a throwaway thing, sort of a vapid thing to say. But if we do not have a positive outlook on the future, then I do not think that we are going to be able to overcome and bounce back and move through negative things. Because what's the point? If I think that my future is going to not be better than my past, what am I bouncing back from? I'll just get knocked down and stay here. Thanks. I'll just relax and stay right where I am versus if I do think that my future will be better than my past, then I have a lot of reasons to be working through discomfort, to be staring adversity right in the face and to do whatever it takes to get past it. So having that positive mindset is really, really important. And I think that perspective, from my perspective, it's a really, really critical thing to get a sense and keep a sense of where we are in the world, where you are in the world. To think about the good things in your life versus focusing on the bad things in your life, to be a survivor versus a victim. So, and then having the ability to reframe negative thinking, to reframe negative events. Napoleon Hill famously said in, I don't know that it was Think and Grow Rich, it could have been his Laws of Success. He said that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Now, it might not be obvious, especially when you're going through it, what the positives are going to be from this really crappy situation that I find myself in. But upon reflection and while you're going through it, recognizing that, yeah, this is super sucky right now, but I'm going to find my way through it. And when I do find my way through it, I will emerge a better person, a stronger person, a better version of me, better equipped and more personally resilient. So I think that that's an extremely important thing to be able to recognize that as we're going through it. And then once we are through it, to figure out, okay, what have I learned from this? What can I take away from this to make it better? So being a positive person, thinking that my future will in fact be better than my past, and reframing negative thoughts, experiences, events, all of these things. I'm extremely fond of saying that we have choice. I get to choose how I think and feel and respond. I get to choose. Nobody gets to choose that for me. Self-manager recognizes that nobody chooses or decides for me how I'm going to think about things. I'm going to make up my own mind. Thanks a lot. Second thing is it's imperative to have strong relationships. I think that from a sociological perspective, I believe that life is the sum of the interactions that we have with other people. So the other humans on the planet, making sure that we have good, strong connections with others. COVID talking about reframing negative situations and taking positives from negatives, if that's possible to find positives from COVID. I think that it certainly is. It just gave us evidence that it's really important to have strong connections with other people. Because if you don't, you're going to be really lonely. You'll be super isolated. So making sure that you are cultivating and fostering good relationships with supportive people, friends, and family. Now, just because you have a family doesn't mean that they're good relationships or that they are strong or they are supportive. We all have toxic people in our lives. And I'm not saying that Just because somebody is in your proximity does mean that they are the right person to be spending time with and to be investing in. Because if you've got a person who is a constant drag on you, who is a negative human being, who has negative habits, who is not accepted or taking responsibility for themselves or their life or the circumstances of their life or anything else, they do not desire personal agency. They do not want these things. Not the person that I'm talking about. I'm talking about other people who are personally resilient or at least working to become personally resilient. Those are the people that you ought best to be spending time with and developing relationships with. And then ask for help because while it does feel like we are going a lot of this alone, we're not. We don't need to. Again, talking about what makes people universally happy is when somebody overcomes something. And we're all overcoming things all the time and going through it all at the same time without really knowing what anybody else is going through. But odds are we've all got some kind of a struggle that we're dealing with. We're all in the middle of some kind of a fight. So when you need help, raise your hand and ask for it. I can almost guarantee that there'll be people who are very willing and hopefully able to give you the support or the help or the resources that you are needing. Next, we need to go into the literacy piece of this. It is develop problem solving skills. So, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You usually have more than that, but I think that those are the two that I have for you right now. You can't solve the entire problem all at once. And if you are a person who looks around and sees big problems that you would like to take a swing at, if you are a person who wants to have an impact, an outsized impact, you need to break down problems into manageable parts because you cannot eat the entire elephant in one bite. We have to take things step by step. Otherwise, we will become overwhelmed. That will be disengaging. When we're trying to solve big problems, trying to do it all at once, I got another one. I was just kidding. Rome wasn't built in a day. There you go. Got three for you. These big problems require big solutions, and big solutions require steps, one thing at a time. And particularly because we are human beings, we have finite amounts of energy and attention and time, I must recognize that there's only so much that I can do on a daily basis. Odds are you have lots of different responsibilities and obligations. I've got a family. I need to go to sleep. I need to exercise. I need to eat. I need to have fun. I need to relax. I need to work. I need to do these things. So I cannot I cannot do it all at once. I need to break things down into manageable things, and I need to control or focus on the things that I have control over and release control over the things that I do not have control over. That is the very nature of, or the very definition of stress and anxiety is worrying about stuff that I have no control over. If I have no influence over a thing, me stressing out over it is going to be a cause of stress in my life. So concentrate on those things that are within our control and recognize the things that are not within our control. The Serenity Prayer is a beautiful reminder of this. I think that something I'm very fond of as of late is the reality that when you are called on to carry something heavy, to do something extremely difficult, will you be strong enough to do so? When God asks you to carry something heavy, are you going to be strong enough to do it? I don't know the answer to that question. I realized that I was getting older, which sounds dumb, but there will be a point in time where you realize, oh, I'm getting older. It's happening to me too, same as it's happening to everybody else. And I had to ask myself, is this the body that I want to bring with me into the next stage of my life? And the answer to that question for me at that time was no. I just right around my 40th birthday, 40-ish, and I was overweight. I was not in good shape. And the answer was clearly no. On my current habits of diet and exercise, the habits that I want to carry with me into the rest of my life? The answer was no. So we have to maintain good well-being. I need physical well-being. I need mental well-being. I need emotional well-being. So I need to move my body. I have to exercise. I have to do cardiovascular activity. I have to do weight training or resistance training. There's so many wonderful things that happen when you start engaging in that kind of thing. You need to sleep. You need to recharge your batteries. You need to be able to shut it down and then wake up close to 100%, as close to 100% as you possibly get to. So that means you need to prioritize sleep. We need to be fueling our bodies appropriately. So I need to put healthy food into my mouth instead of shoving unhealthy food, which is everywhere, into our mouths. And it's delicious. I get it. I'm not saying all of a sudden start eating clean and perfect. I'm saying that for the most part, 80% of the time, you need to be eating a healthy diet 80% of the time, and then you can F off 20% of the time. So having a healthy body, without that, if you don't have mental clarity and acuity, if you don't feel good, if you're stressed out, if you're overweight and you're tired and lethargic, you're not going to be showing up and doing a good job for anybody. You're not going to be resilient at all. You're going to be just tired. Next, I think that emotional awareness is a really, really important thing. So, as somebody who is personally resilient, you need to be aware of how it is that you are feeling, how it is that you are thinking about different scenarios and situations. Because if we're not aware of our feelings, then it's the tail wagging the dog. We need to be in control. My feelings do not control me. I experience my feelings, but they do not control me. I feel them. I recognize them. I embrace them. I love them. I love feelings, but they don't control me. I am in control of them. So emotional intelligence means that you recognize that you are feeling a certain way, and then you make the choice on how you're going to let those feelings impact you. If you're feeling really sad, that's fine. Then take some time. If you're extremely angry, well, recognize that and take some time also. So the last thing I want is for people to bottle up feelings and to ignore them. That is not what I am saying. I am saying stare directly into them, walk into that feeling, feel it, let it wash over you, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever. But I'm not going to let it control me. Same thing as I'm not going to let outside circumstances control me. I recognize what's going on, but I am in control of how I think, feel, and respond to the circumstances of my life. And that's really what personal resilience is all about, is recognizing that I have the ability to act in that way, and then I actually do it. So these 5 things that I've been talking about for developing your personal resilience, I think will benefit you if you focus on them. You think about it, just recognizing that personal resilience is a skill that must be learned and then a muscle that must be exercised. And if we don't do it, then it will atrophy, it will weaken, it will go away. We'll have to go through the process of acquiring it again. And that's not good. Better to keep things going. Whole momentum thing. Object in motion is easier to keep in motion than it is to get something that is just sitting there, that is not moving, get it moving again. Starting, stopping, not good for anybody. I know that you're perfectly capable, even if you've never been in a different scenario, if you've never experienced adversity, you're certainly somebody who can be extremely personally resilient. And if you're somebody who has been going through a lot, my heart goes out to you. I hope that you're able to get what you need and to move past whatever it is that you're going through. What I know is for sure is I am doing my best. Try to do my best every day for myself and for the people that rely on me and for those who cannot. And I encourage you to do the same. So as always, do your part by doing your best.